Imagine living in a world where your actual DNA decides your social standing. A world where some people wake up as literal gods, while others are left broken, weird, or completely powerless. Now, imagine a man walking into that chaos, smiling, and offering a cure for your insignificance. Power for the powerless. A home for the outcasts. At first, he feels like a savior. But decades pass, and you realize the terrifying truth. Your entire life belongs to him. Your identity has been wiped clean. All for One doesn't just steal superpowers, he steals the very concept of who you are. This is Beyond the Villain, where we unmask evil, one story at a time. Tonight, in our Part 3 of Arc 11, the dehumanization of man. In previous episode, we've looked at the domestic horror of Shoe Tucker and the cold science of Bondrude. But tonight, we're stepping into the realm of absolute monopoly. From Kohei Horikoshi hit anime, My Hero Academia, we are looking at the Demon Lord himself. All for One voice by Akio Otsuka for Japanese dub and John Swazi for English dub. A villain who understands that the easiest way to turn humanity into property isn't through chains, but through psychological dependency. All for One is the ultimate expression of authoritarian ownership. He doesn't want to destroy society. He wants to own it like a private collection. He represents the terrifying reality of what happens when a predator uses human desperation to strip away human individuality. Before we begin, if you want to support Beyond the Villain, you can check out my Patreon or buy me a coffee. Links are in the description below. Now let's begin the unmasking. The world of My Hero Academia didn't start with peace. It started with a genetic explosion. When quirks first appeared, society instantly fractured. The old laws couldn't handle people who could level buildings with a blink. Governments collapsed, riots tore through cities, and human equality died overnight. And right there, in the middle of the burning streets, All for One found his calling. He didn't start out by screaming threats or blowing up cities. He was much smarter than that. He built his empire by giving desperate people exactly what they wanted. If you were born with a mutation that made you a social outcast, he gently took it away. If you were a powerless victim getting beaten in the alleys, he handed you a weapon. And here's the scary part. That's how real tyranny always starts. It never introduces itself as a monster. It introduces itself as a helper. All for One understood a deep, ugly truth about human nature. Most people will gladly trade their freedom for safety, if they are scared enough. Every power he gifted someone wasn't an act of charity. It was a psychological leash. He created an entire class of people who were completely dependent on his existence just to survive. He didn't liberate them. He turned them into extensions of his own will. Look at how he handled Tamura Shigaraki, a little boy standing in the bloody ruins of his own home, ignored by passing crowds, suffocating under his own trauma. Anyone with a shred of humanity would see a child who needs a hospital. All for One saw an investment. He didn't heal the boy. He cultivated his agony. He isolated him, pampered him, and fed his hatred like a prized pet until the kid couldn't distinguish between a father's love and a master's programming. All for One didn't just adopt Shigaraki. He mined him for parts. He weaponized a child's grief just to build a perfect vessel for his own consciousness. That's not leadership. That's absolute dehumanization. At his core, All for One runs on a twisted blend of social Darwinism and complete narcissism. Social Darwinism is the pseudoscientific theory stating that the principles of biological evolution and survival of the fittest apply to human societies. Complete narcissist typically refers to someone with narcissistic personality disorder. They are characterized by an extreme sense of self-importance. He genuinely believes that because he has the unique ability to take and give power, he is naturally exempt from the rules of human decency. In this universe, a quirk isn't just a superpower. It's a physical manifestation of a person's soul, their heritage, and their identity. So when All for One reaches into someone's chest and tears their quirk away, he isn't just disarming them. He is deleting their individuality. He reduces human beings down to inventory. To him, You are either a container holding a useful tool he wants to collect, or a blank space on a chessboard where he wants to drop a pawn. The entire counterweight to this nightmare is the lineage of One for All, passed from All Might down to Izuku Midoriya. The ideological battle here is incredibly clean. Control versus empowerment. All for One uses his power to make people smaller, weaker, and completely dependent on him. All Might uses his power to inspire people to stand up on their own 2 feet. One is a black hole that sucks in everything around it. The other is a sun that gives away its own light. When Deku fights, he isn't just trying to beat Shigaraki into the dirt. He is trying to reach past the layers of All for One's programming to find the screaming kid hidden underneath. The heroes refuse to accept the premise that a broken person is just damaged goods to be discarded or used. They believe that no matter how deformed your soul gets, your humanity is still worth fighting for. We see All for One's shadow all over human history. He lives in every single charismatic dictator who ever stepped into a broken country during an economic depression, promised safety and order, and used that desperation to slowly choke out every ounce of personal liberty. But it's not just a government problem. We see this in destructive cult leadership structures, where a master manipulator isolates traumatized followers, breaks down their old identities, and builds them back up so they can only perceive reality through the cult leader's voice. Even in modern, everyday life, the layout is identical. Think about corporate environments that encourage hyperdependency, or online predatory algorithms that weaponize our loneliness to keep us locked inside tailored echo chambers. The moment a system looks at your human vulnerability and sees an asset to exploit, the all-for-one mindset is running the machine. So let's ask the question that hits way too close to home. Is all-for-one the real problem? Or is he just the natural apex predator of a society that already loves to categorize people by their utility? Long before All for One ever took over, the world was already discarding people who didn't fit the mold. The lonely, the strange, the traumatized, they were already invisible. All for One simply built a factory to collect what society threw away. His greatest weapon isn't the powers he stole, it's his ability to exploit our deep, human need to belong. If people feel isolated and rejected by the world long enough, they will eventually march right into the arms of a monster just to feel seen. He turns our vulnerabilities into his property, and he does it with a calm, patronizing smile. The massive takeaway from All for One's nightmare is learning how to recognize emotional manipulation before it hardens into permanent control. Real leadership empowers you to be independent. It never tries to make you small or keep you locked in a cycle of endless debt. We have to build communities where people feel valued for who they are, not just what they can produce. True strength is about defending your own identity and refusing to let anyone or any system turn your personal worth into their private asset. All for One is the terrifying reminder of what happens when we let our fear turn us into property. Real freedom is messy, dangerous, and incredibly hard work, but the alternative is letting someone else hold the remote control to your life. The most dangerous tyrants don't come to break your bones. They come to make you thank them for taking your soul. Is All for One a monster of his own making? Or did a broken society build the throne he's sitting on? What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel to get the latest unmasking of every villain and check out my other videos. Thank you for watching, and peace.